Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink, it is time for some Path of Exile 2 discussion. Welcome to day 2 of teaser season for patch 0.2.0. We don't yet have an official name for 0.2.0, hopefully Grinding Gear Games reveal one pretty soon, so that I can say something more interesting than 0.2.0 when starting these videos. You might also notice that this is day 2, but day 1 was the day before yesterday. Normally these would be daily teasers, but I think Grinding Gear Games are experimenting with a slightly earlier start and a slightly longer teaser season, and as a result they're spacing out the earlier ones. Either that, or there's going to be some more surprises for us. In any case, this will be a short video because there's not a huge amount today, but there is a change that I think people will be very, very happy to see. And there's also a whole lot of really interesting statistics about the current state of the game as well. So in 0.2.0, towers are getting their second biggest improvement yet. The biggest improvement was going from 1 tower to 5 towers. The second biggest improvement is going to be that towers can now spawn endgame mechanics. Most importantly, possibly, this is going to include map bosses. This is Karash the Dune Dweller, which is one of the bosses that's available in the Mesa map, but there's also probably going to be one for every single tower, and if not for every single tower, presumably there'll be ones for several of them. This is going to be something that will then make those towers a bit more interesting to run, because they're certainly something you need to run a lot. Additionally, they'll be able to get other mechanics such as breaches in them, and they can be added to them through the use of precursor tablets. Essentially, this is something that will turn towers from a mandatory chore into something that you're much happier to see, and I think it will be a very popular change amongst endgame players. The second piece of information Grinding Gear Games dropped today, though, doesn't relate to the future of the game, but to the present. This was a statistic snapshot. Now, they've hired a data analyst who is someone that many people who have played in player-run events in Path of Exile 1, specifically BPL, will be aware of. Lilylicious is someone who was involved in organising BPL behind the scenes quite a bit and has brought her expertise in data analysis over to Grinding Gear Games. One of the consequences of her getting employed by GGG is that now we have a whole bunch of information that's been revealed about statistics from game logs. Literally terabytes of game logs were parsed from February the 18th to the 25th to bring you these statistics, which I think are pretty interesting. So firstly, the amount of gold that dropped was just shy of $1 trillion. 899 billion gold dropped during this week, which is 1.5 million gold per second, or that's 90 million gold per minute, or a bit over 5 billion gold per hour. Personally, I'd be interested in seeing a gold breakdown by time zone, but maybe that's just me being more of a data nerd even than most Path of Exile players are. Now, the average player level was 75. There's a lot of different ways that you can compute that. I'm assuming that's of characters that were logged into at least once during that week, but you would get different results if you were to take characters at the time of a zone transition. You'd get different results if you were to take characters at the time of a monster kill, characters at the time of loot being generated, all these sorts of things. That said, I think that's going to be a lot higher than many people expect, and that's because the people who play high-level characters play an enormous amount more than the people who play low-level characters. And that will really show up, especially where we're towards the end of a league, where a lot of people who might have set their goal to themselves as being get through the campaign, they've already completed that, whereas people who are still attempting to progress goals at endgame may well still be playing a lot more. But the really interesting one is that the median player level was 89. So this means that 50% of players will level 89 and above, 50% of players will level 89 and below. And of course, the average being 75 simply means that the small number of people on very low level characters, they have a disproportionate impact on that stat, but not on the median. The number of characters that went splat during the week was 14.5 million. That's about 2 million per day. That's about 25 per second. Lilylicious also pulled popularity stats on the various different ascendancies. This is a bit different to the information we've been able to get in the past, which has come from the ladder, or more recently from POE 2.ninja. So here you'll see POE 2.ninja has 32% of people playing Stormweavers, 25% playing Gemlings, 19% Invokers, 7% Blood Mages. But that is because all of the data that POE 2 Ninja has is based upon level 97 and above characters. It actually is quite different when we have a look at the whole lot of the player base. Here you can see the Blood Mage is coming in 8th place, not in 4th. And additionally, the Stormweaver and the Invoker are on top and equal to each other, whereas that's a very different tale to when you restrict to level 97 plus characters. Partly this comes down to what players who have got the resources to really excel and push the ladder, what they're able to do better with. And there are some ascendancies like the Blood Mage that do very poorly on low levels of gear. And at the same time, there are also some ascendancies that do well on low levels of gear. That said, this is very far from the ideal 8 1/3% for each of the 12 ascendancies, and hopefully this is going to result in some balance changes being made. both to the outliers at the top end, but also to the outliers at the bottom end. Poor Acolyte Chayula. Not even 1.25% of the player base playing you at the moment. Anyway, that's the information that we've got for today. I told you this would be one of the shorter videos. Day 3 will come when it's ready. That might be tomorrow, that might be Friday, or maybe GGG will do something unexpected and it'll be further off into the future. Until that point, may your Varlorbs have interesting results, and try to keep yourself as small as possible a part of this 14.5 million characters that go splat.